Chapter 3: The Nature of the Universe. In Los Alamos, New Mexico, at Fermi's $243 million labs of Illinois, at CERN in Switzerland, at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, and at Argonne National Laboratories, to name a few, where high-energy research into the nature of the universe is conducted, we find such terms as, quote, weak interaction, quote, strong interaction, quote, quarks, quote, the gauge theory, and so on. These measurements are studied after protons are raced through extensive paths of magnets to perform programmed tests for studies, photographing, and charting. Question: without understanding of the separate natural energies of magnetism, applied to construction of these expensive theoretical installations, how can any findings from such installations be any natural indicator of our natural universe? Yes, we are herein stating for the record that findings from these installations are leading away from nature's operations. They are too theoretical for theory and science. When the basis is incorrect, the conclusions are incorrect, regardless of the order that is correlated from the misleading findings. We submit that, quote, looking for forces that should be there when otherwise it does not make sense, and giving names to confusion resulting from incorrect scientific use of basic energy do not give a correct understanding of nature. Exploding bigger and greater bombs, doing with particles of nature what has not been done before, does not advance man's understanding of nature when the basis of that work is scientifically incorrect. If this is an indictment of a particular area of science, then let it be, as such scientists may deserve accusations. To apply the understanding of the universe, this wonderful creation of order, to misleading conceptions and theories is not enough for these scientists. They go further in theorizing human behavior and existence on these misconceptions. A clear and present danger to the nature of man, we feel, are scientists of this caliber who say they, quote, have created. It is quite common to hear such comments as, quote, created in the laboratory. And almost as misleading are those scientists who claim, quote, man is basically an electrical animal. Electricity is not more basic than magnetism, nor does a scientist create, since a scientist can only discover that which already exists. Such scientists are helping to destroy man's understanding of his nature by improper findings and adaptations from their artificial playthings. Gravity, electricity, the weak force, the strong force, and such, cannot be scientifically examined for more understanding of nature and the universe without the acceptance and adoption of the separate natural energy of magnetism. Subatomic physics, the proton, electron, neutron, smaller atomic particles, is incapable of further studies for clearer understanding without natural magnetism's separate energies. On and on go these experts, spending billions of dollars, and quote, things just don't work right, so they have to, quote, create new terms and look for new particles to explain their confusion, and they do. Now we have another name that was, quote, created in the expensive instrumentation of Sanford Linear Accelerator and at Brookhaven Institute, where protons were accelerated through, yes, you are correct, magnets, to then collide with other particles programmed. And we have a new form of matter named, quote, charm. It is now the quark family, the charm family, the heavy charm family, the charm quark family, and so on, all misleading without instrumentation, utilizing the separate energies of magnetism and the effects of these energies on particle acceleration findings. And don't forget anti-charm and naked charm. We can say it and not lose our jobs. Baloney. These particles are not accelerated only through magnets, without considering the effects of the separate magnetic fields on these particles, but bubble chambers with magnets, electromagnets, supercooled magnets, on and on, using magnetism in these experiments without properly accounting for the separate energy effects on any particles or matter in these experiments. In 1976, amid 20,000 confused findings, examples were determined for science to accept charm particles. Fermi Labs offered the first path record of a charm. Eureka! What do we really have when the basis is incorrect? Now these, quote, high-energy physicists, a self-describing optimistic title, look for charm antiproton. Where will it all lead? You can be sure it will go on, further confusing man's understanding of the universe, unless there can be a re-evaluation of magnetism in its natural parts, in its relation to these findings. But this will probably not occur in the near future, since such revelation would likely determine that the construction of these expensive theoretical installations are not themselves correct. Quote, members of the electron family are different quarks that make a transition to electrons, 16 entities in combination. And what will be next? As one respected energy physicist, Professor Murray Gell-Mann said, quote, the picture appears complicated because we may be looking at it in the wrong way. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Professor Gell-Mann. Then, we have 1,000 powerful magnets and miles of particle acceleration in the Fermi Labs at Batavia, Illinois, with magnets, electromagnets, supercooled magnets, and so on. Human beings test what they think they know, theoretical and experimental. Quote, the Fermi Accelerator was completed in 1972 at a cost of $243 million and sprawls across 6,800 acres of prairie. Fortune magazine, July 1977, page 64. If a magnet fails in this giant accelerator, the magnet is replaced. Why did the magnet fail? Why did the separate energies of the magnet fail the operation? If we must waste millions of dollars on such instrumentation, let's at least go to the heart of the matter. And further, to quote Professor Freeman, quote, nature may have a different way of doing things. With all this talk about new theories, there is not much understanding. These weak interaction connections with other actions I still cannot believe. It may be more youthful enthusiasm than good physics. Yes, Professor Freeman, we certainly would agree, and we would also add that there is an element, pardon us, of self-delusion, that human beings as scientists will accept their basis of the science as correct when they have accepted that prior results are incorrect. Magnetism has been relegated to an inferior position in relation to electricity and gravity. As long as this concept exists in the scientific community, there will only be theories on theories, confusion on confusion. Even the black hole concept of decaying stars finds an understanding by the application of magnetism's separate, distinct energies, expansion and compression, heat and cold, clockwise and counterclockwise, vortex spins, and so on. So, you scientists out there, where is your courage to reconsider basic magnetism? A unifying force in the universe is now believed to be answered by the black hole concept. Einstein looked for many years for this unifying concept and could not find it. We submit that whatever basis is given to the black hole concept, particles eliminating one another, particles escaping from black holes, smaller, hotter, and exploding particles, little black holes, bigger black holes, the power of millions of H-bombs, whatever theories from this present study, without the proper understanding and adoption of the separate energies of nature's own magnetism, this is proceeding farther from understanding nature, not closer to our meaning and our being. This important particle we call a proton. This symbol to describe the irreducible unit of light is believed to have its secrets revealed only by constructing large multi-million-dollar structures to accelerate protons near the speed of light, hurling them at targets, the collisions giving still more particles. Can these installations withstand their failure to advance man's knowledge of the nature of the universe when an independent scientist in his own self-supporting laboratory, without the aid of a giant particle accelerator, discovers the nature of the proton, opposing and alike forces in matter? When Albert Roy Davis in 1936 discovered that magnetism was not a homogeneous but two separate and distinct energies, Dr. Yerkes of the Yerkes Laboratory, then at Orange Park, Florida, told the young scientist that, quote, "It may take your lifetime to convince the scientific world of your discovery." Neither Dr. Yerkes nor Albert Roy Davis could, in 1936, foresee the vast applications and understandings to man and his universe that would result from this lifetime of research and development. The same laws of magnetism discovered by Albert Roy Davis apply to the proton, the electron, the atom, as a magnet, touching upon all fields of human knowledge. Still, it is not unusual to have information available to the scientific community that is not well distributed or considered in relation to a specific problem. The correlation of available scientific information is a serious problem. Science News, Volume 112, September 24, 1977, page 196, published as Science News of the Week, a quote, discovery, entitled Proton Spin Surprise. Naturally, we believe such a word aptly applies here. The spin of protons was not a surprise to many thousands of interested persons and scientists who have read the book Magnetism and Its Effects on the Living System. Exposition Press, Hicksville, New York. First published in 1974. A specific drawing on page 93 of this publication shows the figure 8. Unlike energies joining and sufficient explanation is given for the differences when the energies are alike. Yes, the quark theory and all its ramifications, including mathematical formulae, is in serious trouble, and further research into the study of spin with natural energies will hasten its doom. It is certainly one of the biggest bondoogles in scientific research ever recorded to have expensive particle accelerator installations throughout the scientific world which do not account for the separate magnetic energies and the spin of these energies in their installations. Consider all the computers that have been misprogrammed. Surely it will take years to unscramble the mess that really came about by again practicing that only the biggest procedure of a bureaucratic system of self-perpetuity could have any decent answers of mankind. Here we quote the Science News article as correctly seeing the scientific dilemma. The quark model is, of course, the beau ideal of current particle theory. It explains not only the proton, but nearly all of the more than 100 known particles. Quark theorists have become quite clever in adjusting the theory to cover a number of recent discoveries, some expected, some unexpected. There are theorists who see the quark theory in serious trouble over these proton spin results, because it would have to be the spins of the quarks that were responsible, and quark spins have not taken an important place in the theory before now. The handwriting has been on the wall for some time, further illustrated by A.C. Tamm and W. Happer in their Physical Review Letters, volume 38, page 278. They describe two Columbia University physicists' discovery that, quote, light beams that spontaneously split into two repel and attract one another. We trust that the reader will understand that whatever animal we are discussing, a beam of light, a proton, an atom, we are describing the same experience. Should we not point out that we have, for over 25 years, advised the scientific community of this phenomena? This is a matter of science, not of ego. A proton spins to the right and comes up to another proton. If the spins are alike, they bounce off. Unlike spins of two protons pass through one another as in a figure 8. They will then combine and pass through one another without opposition. As they are both positive, it would be believed they would repel each other. But if one has polarized clockwise spin, it has taken on a decided positive charge, whereas the other proton with a counterclockwise spin has taken on a slightly negative charge on the outside of the proton. The spin is what governs the action of any particle in matter, and is the correct analysis in identifying the positive and negative function of natural energies. When you have negative voltage and a lesser negative voltage, the weaker negative voltage becomes positive to the higher negative voltage. Electricity is a flowing charge of energy as opposed to magnetism, which is a field of energy. You cannot light a light bulb without magnetism. It takes a charged flow of energy, yet magnetism is present in that light bulb. Magnetism will flow around the copper wire. Electricity will flow around and through the wire. Magnetism has a spin effect. Electricity has a flow effect. And as all matter is in motion, characterized by spin, here is another reason why magnetism is the father of electricity, not the child, which is generally accepted in physics. Further, in considering the spin of energies, in magnetism, the positive clockwise energy expands and the negative counterclockwise energy contracts, constantly occurring in all matter everywhere. What does this do to the theorists of the expanding or contracting universe? The reasonable assumption would be that these theorists are both incorrect in that the universe is expanding and contracting simultaneously. Generally, the scientific community has completely ignored the spin effect of matter, not only in protons, atoms, and quarks, but also in regard to magnetic fields. Another example would be the Zeeman effect, incorporated into spectrophotometers, quote, developed by the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory, and among present applications used by Japanese fishermen, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the US Army Corps of Engineers. Science, 7 October 1977, page 39. Magnetism is considered only to polarize or condense a beam of light. This is like a child playing with a magnet, and applies outside particle acceleration facilities, to name a few, in all magnetic analyzing equipment, magnetic resonance analysis, spectrographic equipment, an electron microscope, the cyclotron, the entire field of physics and related sciences. where the supreme command of science has ignored the basic laws, but still has time to chastise, criticize, and ridicule anyone who would attempt to show the importance of spin in understanding the nature of the universe. Do these recent verifications in the importance of spin in matter have any effect on the superstructures built that ignore spin in expensive and time-consuming play games with natural energies? Look at the record. The Congress of the United States has approved the construction on Long Island of a 400 billion electron volt accelerator for high energy research. The accelerator will be constructed at the Brookhaven National Laboratory at an initial cost of $183 million. Construction will continue for 5 years, starting in October 1978. An underground cyclotron 1/3 of a mile in diameter would fire protons around a ring, guided by superconducting magnets. The protons, fired in opposite directions, would collide in a bombardment center, permitting scientists to measure the properties of subatomic particles at, quote, a level never before achieved. New York Times, September 30th, 1977. Dr. Ronald Rand, Associate Director for High Energy Physics at Brookhaven, is quoted as saying, quote, "This means that the high energy physics program at Brookhaven, which has been extremely successful over the last 20 years, will be unable to continue to produce exciting results. The idea is to understand the relationship among the forces of physics in a unified way so that we can understand them as a single unit rather than as separate forces. Einstein tried for 20 years to understand how to unify the forces of physics and was unable to arrive at a satisfactory explanation." Does the reader at this point need any suggestion as to the merits of the results of correlated and mathematized from this enormous undertaking in the extension of the quark theory, the same basic construction of this enormous structure using basic laws as well as experimental results that have been scientifically verified as misleading? It will be a race to see which country spends the most money and time searching for new quarks. Will the United States make new quarks first? Will Europe make new quarks first? In the Soviet Union, plans are underway for a machine several times more powerful than the upgraded Fermi Lab doubler. Peking has discussed a construction program of its own with the Director General of CERN. At the German Particle Physics Laboratory, DESY, in Hamburg, hope is high that Europe will succeed against the American rivals. The language invented by these high-energy researchers into the nature of the universe reads like a fairy tale. Quoting from New Scientist, 8 September 1977, page 572. Quote, DESY's electron annihilator, Doris, can be stretched to reach the new 10 GeV state, whereas its American rival, Spear, cannot. The only effective way to discover the new particle, as they were to discover the equivalent J/psi and charm before it, push Doris to 8.6 GeV. Use 2 of the accelerating cavities being built for Petra, Doris's successor. The Large Magnetic Detector, Pluto. Amen.